Salutations, friends, and welcome back to the TeamIslas podcast, episode 10. Double digits, folks. My name is Doug Bush, and today, as always, I'm joined by
Patricia Islas
and
Zach Shear.
And this is the podcast for anyone that is looking to better themselves in percussion education. How should I set up my front ensemble? Where does the xylophone go? Drum set, timpani, chimes, big group, small group, for marching band or WGI. Oh gosh, don't worry. We're here today to answer all these questions and more. Miss Islas, you want to kick it off?
Sure, yeah. We wanted to have a moment to talk a little bit about the front ensemble, the cool kid section.
That's right.
And that wasn't a joke, Mr. Bush.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know why you're laughing.
I misheard baseline.
Anyway, I was so rudely interrupted. We want to talk about the setup and the instrumentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll first just say that it is really important, although Mr. Bush clearly disagrees. It is super important that we pay attention to the front ensemble and think critically about these things before it's time to make them happen. Right? Yeah. This is one.
Day one's earlier than you think.
Day one's earlier than you think it is. So if you want to have one of the worst days of the year, wait until it's time to go outside for the first time, or wait until all the kids show up to go I don't know. Should the vibes go in the back or should they be on the side? Or we have all these cables. Let's get ready to plug everything in. Where do the synths go? Day one is earlier than you think it is. So that's why this is a podcast topic. Okay. So we're going to talk about instrumentation and then what kind of setup you should use for that instrumentation. So, Miss Islas, let's talk instrumentation first. We're going to go down a list of instruments here.
Yes, sir.
First, xylophone.
Yep, xylophone. Love it.
Should we have it in the front ensemble?
Yes, if you have the numbers to be able to support it.
Okay.
If you have a smaller group, I would argue, if possible, to have a xylophone mounted even.
Absolutely.
It is a very important sound to use for ensemble alignment, front to back, those kinds of things. It's also a very useful instrument if you have a player that maybe you want to gear more towards being a snare drummer, but they're a little bit young. Maybe they're a ninth grader and they need to work on their timing, but are not quite yet ready for some of the choppier things that your snare line is handling. It could be a good spot for that player. So putting them in the front ensemble, give some time to mature a little bit, would be great for that instrument.
I've been told by band directors and judges, Miss Islas, we really, I don't know, Mr. Shear, that xylophone. I mean, it's so bright and it's so tinny sounding and it's so, do we really, I don't think we need that. Shouldn't everything just have this warm, rich, bathed in reverb? This is how we win BOA, right? With sounds like that, not with that. What is this, a ragtime ensemble? Are you sure we want that timbre?
Yes, because it is a front ensemble.
Oh, yes.
And it is not a snare line or a quad line where everyone's playing the exact same instrument and same part. So you want that depth in the sound. And you're going to get that by having highs and mediums and lows. Yeah,
I totally agree. I shout out to the great band director, Andy Seeley, Hebron High School. When my wife was teaching at one of the feeder schools there, I was in one of their, I think they were getting ready to perform an honor band concert. I think they were honor band. And they were warming up or playing a scale or a tuning chorale kind of thing. And I was sitting there listening and it sounded beautiful. It sounded like an organ, right? This band is so good. And I distinctly remember hearing the piccolo come in. For some reason, the piccolo player wasn't playing. And then she came in, this girl playing piccolo, she's on the front row. I can see her. And it was the sound of the ensemble, like you said, the ensemble as a whole totally shifted and got better. It sounded good before.
Yeah.
But the piccolo entered and I was like, oh. And in that moment, I was like, we will always have xylophone. And I would say those comments that I tried to trap you with there were actually things that we're probably referring to either mistakes in the arranging or mistakes in my balance of the ensemble, or maybe a mistake in mallet selection.
Mallet selection,
right?
yeah.
It's not the xylophone itself. Okay, cool. Let's go on. Next on the list, chimes.
Chimes. That's a tough one for me because I love having that sound in the ensemble. I love having that sonic range of a metallic sound to play with. I also love it is an instrument that is not terribly complicated, nor does it need to play the whole time. So you have it as a opportunity for that specific type of player that needs that level of music. It could also potentially be integrated into a rack part or something of that nature. However, it is a very needy instrument. And I have not ever been in a scenario where they have used chimes and they have not had technical difficulties, at least once, maybe multiple times throughout the year.
Right.
I feel like I can envision the chimes moving onto the field and needing to be lifted up because it cannot roll on its own too many times to count. So I feel like for me personally, chimes is probably more percussion ensemble indoors. Instrument opposed to an outdoors instrument.
Yeah, blasphemy.
Yeah, I know.
Blasphemy, Miss Islas. Because I love the sound of chimes.
Me too.
And I love them here, there, and everywhere. On the field, inside, outside. But I know what you mean. And it's right. It's so hard to transport them.
There is a depth and a weight that is brought with chimes.
Yes.
And that little metallic, which is so incredible. And I also love. And as Miss Islas said earlier, I can remember when we used to have chimes, the opportunity it provided for certain students that are not going to make but are high functioning students that have worked hard. They're doing their best. It's their junior, senior year. You want them to be part of the ensemble. I think it's great. My arguably most embarrassing moment teaching drum corps was Blue Nights 2007. It was our first or second show. I'm helping the front ensemble load onto the cart when we are done, and the chimes begin to tip over. And me weighing maybe 130 pounds, maybe. But drum corps, I've been doing push-ups.
Of course,
I got this.
Yeah.
In front of the whole audience, I go to brace myself against the chimes. The chimes crush me. I fall over, the chimes fall over in a loud grang, and the whole audience begins to cheer and laugh and clap. And I can remember being on the bus that night, and this was like when you would first, I don't know, maybe it was like drumcorpsparkinglot.net. I don't even know, dude. But these people would do these reviews of shows, and we're on there, and it gets like to the Blue Night review, and it does like a whole review of the show. Oh, Blue Knights are doing this year. And it gets to the end, and it's like, oh man, the pit tech got crushed by the chimes after. Oh my gosh, dude! It was. So I can kind of understand. It might not nowadays with electronic inclusion. It might not be
most of the time. I think you can add that sound to a DTX or your synth or something, or mount station or something.
So I think what I'm going to say here is, in a perfect world, yes, chimes. In the real world, maybe not. Maybe not.
Okay.
Okay, maybe some of the same comments here on our next instrument, but I don't know. I think I'm going to differ probably on this. What about timpani, Miss Islas?
I'm a little bit on the fence with timpani. I think it is more possible than chimes, but it is a little bit of a diva on the field. It requires a lot of attention.
It's a diva on the field, is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
It is.
It requires a lot of attention, but I do really love the timpani sound. I do also, especially if you're doing more of symphonic orchestral themed show, which, there's so many hybrids of modern music and classical music nowadays. It's not as popular, but I feel like that could be a very useful effect even within the arrangement for that type of show that could, get you some really good attention for the percussion. It's also great for developing timpani within your program.
Yeah.
Because, even though you might ask all of your students to play timpani for the all-state music, potentially for their concert bands, maybe even for their percussion ensembles. Very few of them have the opportunity to spend a significant amount of time on timpani. And coming from someone who was a timpanist as a freshman in high school, I am very grateful for that time that I had developing those chops, because that allowed me to be comfortable when I got into the Wind Symphony and was playing pieces like Hindemith's, what is the Symphonic Metamorphosis, and Music for Prague. I had confidence and experience to be able to handle that, and we could play those pieces because of that experience. So yeah, I love having that instrument as an arranger to write for, because again, kind of like the chimes, but even more so, that sonic range is one that we don't often get access to with acoustic instruments. It's more for electronic instruments now.
Absolutely.
And it is a fun toy to play with.
What if, okay, let's say you have the ability to take timpani out. You have the ability to move them back and forth and all that. You have an arranger that you know can write for it really well. Maybe you have some music that you kind of think calls for it. Do you need the right kid to put on timpani? Can it be just kind of, do you think, pretty much any member of your front ensemble could do it? Or are you looking for a certain set of skills and personality and that sort of thing?
You can make either work. Okay. I think you could have, a student that might be successful playing one of the second or third marimba parts, move over to play the timpani, and specifically how you write for them could be really effective and challenging for that player. But it's also an opportunity to, if you have a really intelligent, really intuitive student, to showcase them and give them some really difficult, challenging things where they might not fit on the battery, they might not fit on one of the marimbas or vibraphones or xylophone. Like, this is a drum that is also melodic. It's very unique in its characteristics. And so if you have a student that fits that vibe, they can be we've had students before that have been really successful on that instrument before.
Yes. I think it's also an opportunity if you have the right student and the right music. And if you're looking for a way, which we all are, right? If you're looking for a way to set your group apart, and you can really showcase a special moment or a series of special moments with a timpanist, it's few and far between that you actually see someone on timpani really, really nailing it and being featured. Yeah. Right?
But you always notice it when it happens.
Yes.
You never don't notice it.
No, when it's good.
There's an element of class. You know what I mean? Or sophistication or something that nowadays, back in the days when everyone had it was one thing, but this kind of ties into maybe the next instrument we're about to talk about. But you have certain instruments that have certain connotations or associations with them. And I think when you roll up on the Vanguard front ensemble and you still see timpani and it's being played at the highest level and it's being arranged at the highest level, there is a concert hall brought to the field.
Type
for
of
lack
vibe.
of a better term, vibe or feeling that is genuine to the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that next instrument you mentioned, Mr. Bush, is Glockenspiel, a.k.a. bells.
No, it's actually drum set.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. Or maybe this was a quasi-intentional slip, because I'm afraid some of our listeners might disagree with us here. So this is a good time to mention TeamIslas@gmail.com. If you, seriously, we're about to talk about drum set in the front ensemble. And if you are stomping up and down, taking your AirPods and throwing them against the practice room wall as we say this, then please, seriously, we would love for you to reach out. Okay, Miss Islas, I'm going to you. Drum set in the front ensemble.
I don't love it.
Okay.
I'm not the biggest fan.
You're going to have to explain why.
Well, it's difficult.
Pitchforks are coming.
I know. It's difficult to write drum set in an ensemble where you already have an entire battery section that is fulfilling certain needs. And you potentially also have rack players who are filling in the gaps of effects and sounds and textures and rhythms. I feel like the drum set doesn't really have any room. There's not any room left for that voice.
And I think when you watch them, 99% of the time, I'm watching this drum set kid in the front ensemble or drum corps or whatever, and it's oh, okay, he's playing a groove. Well, I don't really know why. This music doesn't really...
It doesn't need that.
Nowhere else would we have this groove. Okay, but that's what he's doing. Okay, I understand. But then 3 bars later, he's playing a woodblock or something. Yeah. And then he's playing a splash that could be just played by the rack guy, and often sometimes is also both big. But then he's playing these shots with the snares, and it's just it's almost a one-man band back there, but trying to like encompass all the other things that are going on in the ensemble. So it just, it's like fitting a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just, I don't quite understand it. Now, Mr. Bush, let me ask you this. Has there ever been a time, because I think you would be the one to pick up on this, like, let's say that this group rolls out and they're doing, I don't know, they're doing a Rush show or they're doing something like that. That's like, okay, the source material obviously had drum set and it's maybe the drummers, maybe they got a picture of Neil Peart out there or what, I don't know.
Yep.
Do you think that there's a moment like that maybe is more of a special thing that does call for drum sets?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I would point to two opposite examples. I would say 2015 Capel, where we did an Animals as Leader show.
Yeah.
And Matt Garska, I would argue, is amongst one of the best drum set artists alive, definitely one of the best progressive metal drummers, not only alive, but to ever do it, right? And another example I would justify here in just a second is, I can't remember the exact year, but this is when Jeremy Gomez was teaching at Wakeland, and Nick worked in an arrangement, and they did Take 5.
Yes. Yes.
That's a great show.
And Gomez is one of the greatest drum set drummers I've ever seen. And Nick's arrangement of Take 5, like taking Morello's literal solo, right, and arranging it, that's how it's done. That's how you make the moment special. It is not by bringing this thing from outside and shoving it in. I don't go to like a metal show and hope to hear some piccolo xylo. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work, man. And even if it does, if for some reason someone's rolling out accordion at this metal gig or whatever, that's just a gimmick. For the most part, it's very, very rare. Like your Bela Flex, I play banjo, but I also play jazz at an insanely high level, are so rare and far, in between. And, when I see these shows that is kind of like, I got this kid, he's a monster, and I want to show it off. I get that. But as an arranger and an educator, it's kind of reinforcing things that we said here. The role of the battery, and this is a whole further episode, but it's very fluid, in my opinion, between melodic contributions and rhythmic contributions. And sometimes it's pseudo drum set and it's supplying pulse and groove, so that, whatever. But it's shifting around. And then you have all the stuff in the front ensemble. And this one singular player, it's like the third wheel. It's like always the awkward, like, well, if they're doing this in this moment, then what's the battery do? Or if they're doing this here or there. And so then what you end up with these shows is kind of what you said, where like the drum set's not doing much. If it's a WGI thing, they're not doing much. The show stops. I have to listen to a minute of gospel chops for some reason.
From one
and then
player.
that stops. Yeah. That didn't really seem to have anything to do with what came before or after. Then there's like a low fidelity voice sample. Oh, my life is a tree. And then the snares come in or something, right? And now that the snares are in, the drum set goes back to pseudo weak rack. Like I'm kind of doing some suspended cymbal stuff, or maybe I'm, I look like I'm doing a lot, but I'm just keeping 8 notes on the hat or something. So it's a mess, dude. It's a mess logistically. It's a mess arranging. It's a mess teaching. There's no home for it in the front ensemble, in my opinion.
All right.
You heard it here.
We have planted our stake on that one. Okay, for better or worse. If you're still with us, we're going to move on to what was incorrect about before, Glockenspiel, Miss Islas.
Love Glockenspiel.
Amen.
One of my favorite instruments to include in the front ensemble. I think a couple things of note. Make sure that you put a player on that instrument that has decent timing and is a fairly stable individual, because they're going to have a lot of control over the timing of your entire front ensemble. And I have seen so many times where the Glockenspiel player is a younger player or someone that maybe doesn't have that much chops, and we think like, oh, we can kind of hide them on this instrument. But it's such a present sound in the ensemble that they cannot be hidden. You can put them in the back, you can put them on the side. It's going to affect the sound of everyone. And so I think it's so crucial to put they don't have to be the most experienced player, but someone who is a stable enough person that their timing is going to be good, because they're going to affect the timing of everyone around them.
Yeah. And I think the right way to do that, if you have a smaller group, or if you're like, I can't spare a kid with good timing to go over there. How do I make that work? I don't have enough kids. Fine. Mount it on something else. Mount it on for your best player, wherever they are.
Yeah.
That's fine. Go for it. Do that. So many beautiful, beautiful, exquisite, really special moments I can think of in front ensembles that I've either like played in or loved to listen to would not have been created without that glockenspiel sound, right? Okay, cool. Next is the mallet station specifically. So we're not referring to just like electronics in general, but specifically the really popular Pearl mallet station that seems to be used a lot. Are you a fan of that? Do you always want it in your ensembles? What if I can buy that or a marimba? Which one should I buy? What should I do, Miss Islas?
I think it's a cool toy. I don't know that if you have the option of that or another instrument, even if it's a used instrument, that I would go with mallet station first. Having judged a bunch of drumline contests before and see it applied in a number of different programs and different settings, it's very rarely used effectively. Usually the sound isn't loud enough to where you can even hear the player, or there's some kind of issue with electronics, or the difficulty of what that student can play isn't really what you would think of conceptually when you first think of getting the instrument. So I would always rather have a real acoustic instrument.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's the mallet station. It's not a bad thing to have. It can be a cool addition. It can be used well, but maybe it's not something it's quite a bit lower on the priority list than it often is placed. Yeah. Something I've noticed a lot recently, and by recently I say I've noticed a big change in this over the last maybe 10 years, is I so often now hear when we're talking about low end in the front ensemble, I hear concert bass drums being replaced by an electronic sample, which is sounds like, Godzilla stomping down into a crater of it's like this, ooh, you know what I mean? It's like the lowest possible pitch a human can hear. And there's no attack. It's just like this, oh, right? And, that I think is kind of what used to be done with concert bass drums, and now it's electronics a lot. So do we even need to wheel those concert bass drums out there anymore? What do you think as an arranger, as a teacher?
Yes. I think it's a useful instrument in the sound. I think it's a useful thing. It is hard to teach a student how to play a concert bass drum with great technique and in time, being that it is one of the loudest potential instruments on the field. But I think that's important for them to learn. And, you might have these rack players that aren't playing a lot of difficult material, and they might feel on the totem pole that they're at the bottom. Giving them this kind of responsibility and explaining to them how important it is gives them something to be confident in.
Yeah. And I think another reason, and Mr. Bush, I know that you kind of mentioned this, but tuning also, I think a lot of times groups might not feel super confident in tuning that, or maybe just don't have time to get to tuning that drum. But if you tune it well, it can be one of the most powerful sounds on the field.
Absolutely. I have the pleasure and privilege of adjudicating a lot now. And there's a lot of smaller groups that don't have these budgets to have these sound designers or have all these electronics or this or that or whatever. And the acoustic concert bass drum is still the loudest acoustic instrument on the field, right? I remember this study. It was in a concert, or it was actually an orchestra setting, but at fortissimo impact moments, 65% of the band sound was just the concert bass drum. And I remember sending that to Jimmy to send to Reagan to justify buying a new concert bass drum, right? You know what I mean, right? Is that the head director, this is going to make my top band sound better, right? It's a good, but yeah, still today, we have great electronics and sound design and everything, but we still roll out with two and tune them to the best of our ability. And I think that regardless what is coming electronically, there is I feel like Tarantino talking about Kill Bill versus The Matrix right now, where it's you see all these CG, Mr. Smith, Agent Smith, right? It doesn't have the same weight and feeling as real stunt actors doing real stunts. And I think there's validity to that. And if anything, just filling up the sound with both.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I will also add on the size of the concert bass drums. I see a lot of smaller ones, like a 34 or a 36. Get a 40.
Yeah.
Get
Yes.
a 40.
Yes,
Absolutely.
please.
It's just if we're going to have it do what it can do,
Yeah.
it needs
You
to
need the
be,
real thing.
It needs to be a 40. Yeah. Okay. A topic here that I love talking about this, and I think it makes such a big difference. I think this next instrument group is one of the differences between good and great when it comes to how a front ensemble sounds, and that is cymbals and the wider world of accessories. And when I say accessories, I'm thinking like mark trees or like finger cymbals or triangles or like all those percussion ensemble-y type of things. A lot of them are metallic type sounds. But Miss Islas, what is your approach to cymbals? Oh, actually, this is going to go to Mr. Bush.
Sure.
Mr. Bush, what is like when you're thinking about a front ensemble and you're thinking about what cymbals I need to have for the players, what type of varieties of sounds, what's your approach to that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, they're all Sabian. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Of course, right. But I feel, and I feel there's a couple things. Number one, the wider the variety in the cymbals, the better for the complexity of the depth of the sound that is being generated. I'm not a fan of getting like 4 or 5 of the exact same size and make and model china, for example. That's kind of defeating the purpose. If I go see a symphony orchestra and they're just all cellos. Yeah. It's kind of defeating the purpose. And then I kind of feel if you're going for like this mature, if you want this mature, warm, full, complex sound, my simple advice would be err on the side of larger suspended cymbals.
Yes.
18 plus. And then for your more effects, your ozones, your chinas, on the medium to smaller. Because you're usually going to those because you want like something that's with the shots or that's with a higher, if the chinas are all really, and the ozones are all really large too, you're not having quite the separation between the two you might like. So like I personally for suspendeds, I like to sit anywhere from the 18 to 20 range. And then for the chinas, it might be more like the 17 to 19 range. Does that make, or ozones, and then obviously in the front on the rack, that's where you got your swish knockers, right? That's where one of our favorite things to use in the rack we use every year is the Alien Disc. It's a beautiful Sabian product with like that you can play with the sticks and it has a ton of articulation. Or if you smack that thing with the felt of a sizzle, it has a beautifully complex sound that you only get from that. Ride cymbals are a big deal. That was a trick from Paul back in the day. I can remember really, really sticking. Mini hats. We use mini hats and we use mini splashes and things like that to again supplement some of the shots or some of the higher impact moments, right? I don't know, Mr. Shear, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I think I'm agreeing with you on a couple things there. Number one, variety.
Yeah.
Number two, exploring not just variety within like what we traditionally think of as cymbals, but like branching out into like Alien Disc and things like that. And then I would also add to that, I'm always looking for just like a new color.
Yeah.
A new color. Like I specifically remember adding to the ensemble, I'm trying to get this right if I remember the name. We bought this thing. It was like a mark tree, like wind chimes, but it's made by Tree Works. It was the Echo Tree, but then it was like the even subset of a subset. It was like the Echo Tree alternate tuning.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, that sounds cool.
I think I need that.
Right. I definitely need the alternate tuning. So we bought it. It arrived. And I remember, kind of like, raking my finger down and, set this thing up. And it was like this, I wonder if it's like this like bone crushing, soul creepy, like, ooh, it was like a mark tree. It was like metallic-y, but it was like not happy. And it was this very unique sound. And I was like, oh, we will use that every year.
Yeah. I mean, loading up on the accessories is fantastic because for one, there's certain connotations and styles that you have in different types of instruments, like your tambourines or your woodblock or your ratchet, things of that nature, that you can use to further drive home whatever the theme of the show is.
Yeah.
So you can do that. But then using them in really creative ways and unexpected ways are also very useful tools. And it's stuff that you can add to any player. It doesn't matter whether they're a marimbist or a rack player or a bell player or even in the battery. That is going to set you apart. It's going to make you more memorable.
Yeah, real quick, I want to shout out Index Percussion, this kind of boutique side percussion company. It makes great product, and they have a thing called a hard hat. It's not expensive. It's kind of like a really fancy ribbon crasher. But this year, we did, for our drumline show this year, it was like drum and bass stuff. And so I needed kind of I was trying to acoustically create all the different synthetic hand clap and snare sounds that you're used to. So we're using ribbon crashers and different tambourines and different splashes and stacks. But this Index hat, we just mounted on the Glock.
Yeah.
That was Sanchi, right?
Yeah, that was Sanchi.
And so multiple times you got the center of the pit. She's got a tambourine in one hand and she's playing backbeats on this really cool, unique instrument that no one else has and no one else is using. And as a judge, when you have to sit there and you judge like 45 groups in a row.
Yes.
And you got this kid in the center of the front ensemble just rocking out. I mean, I remember when she would do like the tambourine moments and Index moments. I mean, Michelle's worth, Kim, like the head band director, to me, like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's not by any means the most difficult thing, but it is very unique, and there's not another band that's probably going to bring these sounds with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something interesting there, which is that was like a kid that was in the center, right? Like a marimbist. Is that what you were saying?
No.
She was on Glock. She was
she was on
Xylos.
Glock.
So she was in the center of the front ensemble, row 2. Or the back row.
She was in the back row. And so,
another argument for having a Glock player with good timing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Well, and that goes to, again, like if you're a listener and you're going, okay, that all sounds great, but I've only got 3.5 kids in my front ensemble, right? Like I've got these 3, and then there's one that you never know about him. Okay, well, a lot of these things we're talking about, whether it's accessories or mark trees or whatever, or concert bass drums, they don't require, even bells, they don't require a dedicated player.
Yeah.
One of the ways to kind of amp up your sound palette more than the kids you have on the field is to go ahead and have those out there, and don't be afraid to have someone step away and go play something else. That's a really, really good thing. I'll give a shout out to Michael Lemish here real quick. We're talking front ensemble sounds. I know you guys have both seen this. He did this thing at Argyle High School. Where like it got to the point where like every marimbist had on the end of their keyboard mounted a Pandero.
Yeah, I think it was the Stanton Moore.
Yeah, the Stanton Moore LP, like
LP,
signature Pandero. A few of like the jingles would be taped up, but some of them were still
active.
Active.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Mike would tune them kind of low, so it's kind of like almost like a thud, kind of a thump thump. But then he would put a drum set kick mic.
Audix D6.
Okay, yes, the Audix D6 underneath this Pandero. And when you hit that with a mallet.
It was like a magic trick.
Oh my gosh.
It was unbelievable. Like, how is that sound coming from that little drum?
Yes.
It was so cool.
And it was like a mix between, it wasn't like a concert bass drum, like, but it was like a thum, like a dum. Just this really cool sound. It's just an example.
And it's being played by the marimba. So visually, again, as an adjudicator, I'm seeing the kid leave the board, drum some stuff over here. As a judge, these are the easiest comments in the world.
Absolutely.
Especially as a more battery-oriented guy, too. I'm just giving you points for free.
Absolutely. Okay, what about actually picking up with my hands? These things, they have straps.
I feel like you have opinions about this, Mr. Sher.
Again, this is going to go under my soapbox of things in the front ensemble that I want back that I feel like are kind of a lost art. And
let me just say really quickly, yes, please.
Yes.
For the sake of your marching bands and also for the sake of your concert bands.
Oh my gosh, yes. Get some crash cymbals on the field. Yes. Okay. So now, all right, I listened to this episode and I've got all these instruments out here. Great. The TeamIslas
They're all
podcast,
here.
they told me to bring all these out. Okay, great.
Except the drum set.
Except the drum set.
Leave that inside.
Okay, so I brought my timpani out and my chimes, Miss Islas, and I've got all these marimbas and bells and xylo. Okay,
Yep.
how do I set all this stuff up? I have seen, I saw a guy down the road, he put his vibraphones on the outside, and I think that looks cool because it's symmetrical and the shiny things are on the outside. Okay, great. But then I could also put the vibes in the back. I'm not sure what to do here. I think we kind of agreed that there are 3 kind of setups we see a lot. One I affectionately refer to as business in the front, party in the back.
Yes, I love that.
That is like, a row of marimbas up front, a row of generally vibes, maybe xylo in the back, and then we can talk about where the other stuff goes later on. But that's that setup. The other one is what I call the vibes on the outside setup. And again, this has variations, but it's generally a row of marimbas in the front, and then some kind of like maybe pod of vibraphones. Maybe there's like a back row, front row kind of combination thing going on. But the key in that one is that the vibes are split on side 1, side 2, with a lot of yard lines in between them. And then the third one is like right, left, where I've got like vibes on the left, marimbas on the right. Or just split left, right, however you work that out. What is your, if you have your choice, what's the way you think works best and the way you like to set it up?
I would say the TeamIslas approved setup
There you go.
would be the mullet setup based upon what you said, business in the front.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah. Marimbas in the front row.
Right.
Medals, vibes in the second row. Having the xylophone bells probably in the center of the second row or in the front row if necessary, but preferably in the second row. With the auxiliary instruments, synth, timpani, if there is some, on either side 1 or side 2 on the outsides, preferring only 2 rows and not 3. That would be the ideal setup. The reason for it being when I am in front of the group, I hear the ensemble with a stereophonic kind of feel. In a similar manner as if I were going to a percussion ensemble concert, or if I were going to an orchestra concert, or if I were going to just like a show, like a band show. Like you're not going to see them all stacked up in specific groupings, and it's going to allow for the players to have a better experience in a sense that they can hear similar instruments to what they're playing. It definitely affects how I write when I write for groups that are in different setups. I would prefer to have the marimbas up front, the vibes in the back, and everybody in rows because it allows for me to have more options in terms of how I arrange things. It could be just all a wood voice in which everyone's playing the same thing for marimbas, or all a metal voice. But it also allows me to integrate those 2 voices a little bit more, have the vibraphones maybe play some runs that the marimbas are playing at certain points. Not everyone has to do it. But it gives me more options. When they're split up, it makes it a little bit more difficult and have to be really careful with who's playing with what players. And not... I think it doesn't allow for, especially the vibraphone players, to get as diverse material. Yes,
yeah, absolutely. I think there are kind of like 3 overarching principles here. And one is let's keep like instruments together. Okay, I think if we look to other established ensembles, we look at a symphony orchestra, or we look at, like you said, the setup of the metal band you're going to go see on Saturday night, like bass and drums are going to be standing kind of close to each other. You go see Dave Matthews Band or whoever, bass drums, we're sort of close, we're communicating, we're a thing. The violins are all together in a symphony orchestra, right? So we're keeping like instruments together. That's number 1. Number 2, I don't want the front ensemble to be any wider than it has to be.
Yeah.
With the wider front ensembles get, the more timing issues we have.
Yeah.
And sometimes I see these groups that are just like unnecessarily spread out really wide. Like we've got this row of marimbas and then we're tacking on vibes on the left and the right. And it's like there's kind of open area in the back. Yeah. And I'm like, why are we making it harder that, number 1, we're separating one instrument family, we're separating it. And number 2, we're making the group wider than it has to be. We're just inviting issues that don't need to be there.
Right.
The third one I would say is I want, and this goes to a conversation with your arranger and how you actually place students in the group. I want the upper and lower level players to also sort of be grouped together, right? So marimba 1, marimba 2 are going to be my center 2 students on the inside. And then right behind them, I want vibe 1, vibe 2.
Right.
So like you said, if I'm writing a run that's really fast and I got my 4 best players playing it, they're all right there in the center of the group.
That is to say you have put some of your best players on the vibe.
Absolutely. Yes, that's so important.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is a hallmark of what you do, and it was another reason for this setup.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I would say even if you didn't do that, this setup still is not a negative for you.
No.
And I would say the other one with vibes on the outside, well, okay, now I've got the negative of I can't have my 4 best players. Let's say I do have vibe 1, vibe 2.
Sure, yeah.
I can't really have them have a really high percentage and a likelihood that they're going to play well if it's something really fast and intricate with my center 2 marimbas because they're spread apart. I think we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with that setup. So I'm with you. I think that woods in front, metals in back general setup works great. Now, what if we are talking about the actual like size of the instruments? Do you have a preference on like, am I going all low A's, low F's, and where do those go in the ensemble?
I typically like to have, like, let's say you had 5 players, right? And you have enough instruments for all 5 of those players to have their own board. I would typically put the larger instruments, larger marimbas on the outside. That way, it allows for the weaker players, your marimba 4, marimba 5, potentially, to be more of a bass type part where they could play something that's a little simpler. They don't have to have as many runs, but they can still be really challenged. And they have access to the lower range of the instrument. Your center marimbas, maybe your marimba 1 and 2, maybe even your marimba 1, 2, and 3, are going to spend more of their time playing faster runs and more articulate parts, which is going to most of the time be on the mid to higher end of the instrument anyway. So by putting the larger instruments towards the center of the group, I think you're wasting some of those octaves on players that aren't going to use them as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Okay, now, so many people find themselves in situations where they do not have 10, 12, 14 kids in the front ensemble. Maybe they have 4, right?
Yeah.
And they want to do what's best for those students and for their program. So let's say you show up at Wanakee Middle School tomorrow, Miss Islas, and you're the director of the Wanakee Middle School. Right, yeah. You're the director of the Wanakee Middle School front ensemble. They have 4 kids.
If I have 4 kids, I would probably put 2 of them on marimba, 2 of them on vibraphone, if I have the instruments for it, and have maybe a pod for auxiliary instruments / tam-tam and bass drum, and have those 4 players split the responsibilities of the auxiliary instruments.
Let me ask you this, Ms. Islas, as someone that has judged a lot of smaller groups, one of the more popular things to do sometimes is, there's 2 things I'd ask you here. Number 1, maybe I have those 4 kids, but I also have 3 other kids, and those 3 kids are the battery, and I have a snare drum set up in the front ensemble, and quads set up in the front ensemble, and bass set up, and I'm literally standing, like I'm not marching on the field, right? So 2 things. Number 1, I'd like to know kind of your thoughts on that and how you would address it. And then number 2, the other popular thing you'll see sometimes with smaller bands is instead of having the front ensemble actually at the front, they'll have these 4, 5, 6 kids like, on the front hash or the back hash, or so they'll be in the back of the field, right?
Having the battery players in the front ensemble, I think poses some challenges for the band, maybe. Even if you just had 3 players in a smaller band, it might be better to have those players on the field getting that experience. But if you can't do it, then, you do what you have to do in terms of the setup. But maybe a 2-row system where the battery instruments are in the second row. So you still get that listening experience, but... and then in terms of the second issue, wait, what was the second question?
Putting the front, if you have a small front ensemble with a small band, putting the front ensemble in the back.
Oh, yeah, putting them in the back of the field. That also is a little bit tricky because they're stationary, and you'd have to have a really mindful drill writer that is going to be cautious to the fact that the listening source of the band is going to be far away sometimes. I don't love that idea either. I would almost rather just have kids on the field and no front ensemble than to try and put them in the front or in the back.
Yep. And I wouldn't say that it doesn't work or that there's not a never or whatever. But I do know as an adjudicator, as soon as I see that set up, whether I want to or not, I'm having two thoughts. And the first is like, oh, this is a younger, weaker, more immature group, because those are the only groups that tend to do that for the most part, whether they are or not, which is a little unfair. And I try to put that bias aside till I hear them play. But then that's where the second thing comes. I almost always have a much harder time hearing them because they're so far away.
Yeah.
So it's harder to get a genuine read. And because of that, as an adjudicator in general, I always try to give the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Everybody is working hard, and there's I'm not trying to tear anyone down here. I want them to have their best. But at the end of the day, if this other group's going out and I can hear them clearly, I feel like I have to kind of lean the direction of
giving them the nod.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Miss Islas, you've worked really hard and you've grown your program. Now you have 7 kids. All right, you got 7 students in the front ensemble, which is a situation a lot of our listeners might be in somewhere around there, like a small to medium-sized group. What are you rolling out on the field in that scenario?
Yeah, I think you have some options then. It kind of comes down to the experience and the skills of the players. But I would definitely have a dedicated auxiliary percussion person in the front ensemble that can cover concert and bass drum, but also can cover a different variety of cymbals and effects. That sound is so important to the entire band that it's good if you have that player. Then I would also probably add another marimba player. So you have 3 marimbas, 2 vibes, and maybe a dedicated xylo. Or potentially a third vibe and mount that xylophone on one of your marimbas and mount maybe a glockenspiel on one of the vibe players. Give them some double responsibility. Or you could have like a dedicated xylo bell player in the center and kind of move it around. You have some flexibility with 7 players, but I definitely would err towards more sounds versus larger sections, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, also just kind of from like an arranging and standpoint, like we're almost approaching the area where we could have like a moment for the woods and a moment for the metals, which I think is, there's a breaking point there, right? Yeah. Like if I have 4, my moments are just going to be, that's the pit.
Yeah.
We're not going like one, which is another thing, Mr. Bush, I see a lot with smaller groups where they like want to feature the pit, but it's like 1 kid playing or like maybe 2.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, don't do that. Like let them all, if there's 3 kids down there,
they play together.
All 3 play.
Yeah.
Let them all play.
I ran into a contest earlier this year. I think it was anything from 2A to 5A, but there were only a couple 5As there, right? And I ran into that exact situation you're talking about where there was one front ensemble that had this monster kid that was playing crazy stuff, and the rest of the front ensemble was doing their job, but they're kind of just hanging out. And then I had another group where they're definitely not playing what that one kid played, but collectively the full ensemble was contributing at a higher level, right? And that puts you in an awkward position, And again, for me, everyone has to make up their call, but the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right? So I'm going to lean towards, especially when we come from a place like Capel, I put a lot of value in that depth of the program. It's very easy to put your best players up front, and that'll bamboozle some people, but not Mr. Bush's eagle eyes.
I love it.
One quick thing. Yeah. If I could stress this. Please, if you have 2 strong keyboard players, split them up between one marimbist and one vibraphone, opposed to putting them both on marimba. I know the thought of, now I have 2 marimbists that can play in unison some things that are really tough, and then everyone else can kind of play weaker parts. But that's not going to make your ensemble, even if they are small, sound very mature, because it will be very apparent in the arrangement that we only have these 2 kids. But if you then put one of your strong potential marimba players on the vibraphone, they're going to lift the rest of the vibraphone section if it's 1 player, 2 players, 3 players. And now you have 2 sections, 2 voices that you can do some interesting things with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, another scenario we often find ourselves in with the front ensemble is okay, wait, I got too many kids. and that, I don't think that's necessarily like number dependent, right? But it's like, maybe they're throwing in some, okay, the double reeds are going in there, or this girl joined band last year and she played cello at her last school. We need a place for, okay, put them in the front ensemble, right? Everybody's had varying degrees of this. So you've got, for whatever reason, you've got some quote unquote extra kids, and maybe they're percussionists, maybe they're not. But what are your suggestions for people who find themselves in that scenario?
Yeah, if you're at a big program and you just have the luxury of having a lot of students that are into percussion,
that
that's
might
great
be it too. Yeah.
That's when you definitely add your timpani. That's when you can add the mallet station involved. Maybe you have your dedicated xylophone player, you have your dedicated Glock player, maybe even a crotale player. It's a smaller instrument that isn't like the chimes that you can add. I would avoid having like 10 kids on the rack.
Yes.
First of all, from a ranger standpoint, your ranger will thank you for not having 10 rack players. That's very challenging and arguably the most time-consuming voice to write for of the front ensemble. But I have been in situations where they've doubled up on marimbas. Maybe you have some low F marimbas. You can have 2 players on them. I would much rather that over putting one of those players on the rack that gets to play a cymbal every 30 measures, because you can write around 2 players on one keyboard instrument much easier than you can like having 4 kids in one spot on a rack.
Absolutely. And I think, what a great opportunity if you have more kids. Again, if your day one is a lot earlier than, or if you're starting day one early enough, this is a great opportunity to try to get more instruments for your program. That's a struggle for a lot of people, is to get more instruments for their percussionists. I think one of the best ways to advocate for that and to make your case is, I have a student with nothing to play.
Yeah.
And I've already got my mallet station and my crotales and my belt.
Got everything out here.
There. I need another fill in the blank, whatever it is, vibraphone, marimba, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome, guys. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us today, friends, and hearing all about front ensemble selections and setups. If you have any questions for the podcast, send them to TeamIslas@gmail.com. That's TeamIslas, TeamIslas @gmail.com. All drum set questions will be forwarded to Mr. Shear. Shout out to all the great percussion companies that support Team Islas, Mapex Majestic Percussion, which make incredible drum sets, by the way. That's the drum set Mr. Bush plays in drum set appropriate environments. Remo drum heads, ProMark sticks and mallets, Sabian cymbals, Beetle percussion, Lot Right apparel. Hey, are you looking for a mallet resource with some great exercises and etudes? Then you need to pick up the method book Momentum. Mr. Shear, where can these fine listeners grab a copy of Momentum?
Dallas Percussion, Steve Weiss Music, and any other retailer that sells great percussion material.
That's it. Hey, if you're using a Jacob Collier or a Tigran chart as your front ensemble lot tune, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and please give us a 5-star review. Remember, friends, step 1 is time, step 2 is sound, and step 3 is subscribing to the Team Islas podcast.